Alison Breiter, employment attorney at Farah Farah.
And as an employee attorney, in Florida, what types of workplace issues are you seeing most common?
So most common workplace issues in Florida are typically minimum wage violations, overtime violations. There's also a lot of misclassification of employees. And then there is a high surge in a lot of discrimination. That could be discrimination based on race, color, national origin, sexual orientation. And there's also disability discrimination and pregnancy discrimination, retaliation, harassment. So those are the really big ones that I'm seeing a lot of.
Are you seeing them in any specific industries more so?
The wage and hour issues, the minimum wage, the overtime, those I do see a lot more in the misclassifications. I do see those a lot more in hospitality and retail, especially in Florida. So we do see a lot of those because they have different schedules, varying schedules, the turnover, things like that make it hard for people to know that they have rights, that they could be getting paid. And even with higher end jobs where people are getting paid a salary, sometimes they're exempt or non-exempt. So they may still be entitled to overtime. So even if it's a salary employee, they may still be entitled to overtime. So they're definitely going to want to look at talking to an attorney so they know if they're entitled to that money.
You have large employers in Florida. Is there a difference between employee rights from, the large employers versus smaller employers, maybe restaurants versus a theme park?
Yes. So larger employers typically have more laws, not fewer. So those do protect employees a little bit more when you work for a larger employer. But a lot of those federal laws, like the Americans with Disability Act, the ADA, the Family Medical Leave Act, discrimination and harassment under Title VII, those are all for employers that have 15 or more employees. So those protections aren't there for, employees of very small businesses. So working for a larger company does provide employees with more protections.
And you're talking about all these protections. Are there any specific ones that you can mention that people might not realize that they have?
Protection-wise, so like I just said earlier, salary employees not realizing, they think, oh, I'm on salary, I don't get overtime. That's not necessarily true. There's certain factors that play into whether that salaried employee is still entitled to overtime. So that's one of them. And retaliation, I don't think employees realize, because retaliation can be so subtle, and they don't realize that if they speak up, they are protected.
Sometimes you have these issues in the workplace and an employee will take it to HR. How does that impact a case?
It could help or hurt, to be honest. So HR is a great tool, but again, HR is in place and employed by the company. So HR is there to protect the company, not necessarily the employee. Doesn't mean HR is bad. HR does want to make employees happy, because if you keep your employees happy, you run your business better. So HR is definitely a good thing. But if you report something, if an employee reports something to HR, they have to make sure that they're doing it in the right way, and they need to make sure that they're communicating it in a way that would support their case. So anything that they report to HR and talk to HR about, employees don't necessarily realize that if this ends up in litigation, anything they said could be scrutinized. So it is definitely best that an employee speak to an employment attorney before these situations arise, because it could hurt their case if they say something that maybe they shouldn't have said.